asked Judy, and we had discussed at a previous meeting, the importance of doing this when you were here, Mr. Lyon, because you'd had to leave previous times when this topic had come up. So I would like at this time to propose that we move forward with this connection. I think it's important not only to join miles of bike paths which have already been built by private entities in large part, but also because it helps, I think, add to the kind of ambiance which has made Westchester regularly one of the most sought after and recognized communities in the country in which to live. Both Forbes magazine and I think Money magazine have both called out. And I think while we do a fine job on our taking care of our streets and have a fine school district, to make it to that level of appreciation where we are attracting the kind of families that are important businesses like AK Steel, GE, Amlin, the kind of highly skilled, highly educated people that they need in their workforce by the hundreds, if not thousands. I think it's important that we maintain the kind of amenities. And I think this bike path is connector, which joins up miles of other bike paths, is part of ensuring that our community stays vibrant and exciting for, in a place that families are going to strive to want to make their homes and work here. So I think it's time for us to make a decision. Are we going to vote to move forward with the bike path?
I thought where we left it is we were moving forward. We're just waiting on Mrs. Boyko to present some information, and she probably has it ready, waiting on us to ask for her to do it.
I think Mrs. Boyko has
the
some
vote's been
information
2-1 against me all along. I think moving forward was already an understanding. Am I misunderstanding something, Judy?
Several meetings ago, I think the board did, a majority of the board did request that you wanted to look at a schedule of some action items on effectuating this to a project, and I have had that information, but no one has sought.
We're seeking.
Okay. So
we're ready to move forward with that discussion and the vote. I think it's time for us to make a decision as a board. Are we going to do it or are we not?
Well, the charge that the majority granted at that time was to list a schedule of critical action items that would be necessary to, again, effectuate this as a project. And just in the very basic summary, the items including preliminary and final engineering, updates to property owners, approvals and authorizations from Board of Trustees, bidding process, and of course the actual construction. The schedule, including all of those steps, would be about, on the very conservative side, about a year versus the more condensed schedule, about 9 months. So you can be looking at from starting, if direction was granted today, you'd be looking at from about a 9-month to a 12-month time frame to achieve each one of these goals, each one of these steps. And obviously the first step would be that the Board of Trustees, at least the majority, would authorize this project. We would then contact the engineer's office to start preparing preliminary engineering and cost estimates. It's my understanding that there is some engineering that the engineer's office already has, only because they've been looking at the intersection of Beckett Road and Beckett Ridge Boulevard and the intersection of Beckett Road and East Beckett Road, where the light is, with the interest of eventually, potentially, I have to repeat that, of maybe extending a turn lane there. So there is some information available. What and how much, to what extent, I do not know. We obviously would want to meet with the property owners. Once preliminary engineering is completed, we would obviously want to meet with the property owners to ensure that they have viewed and reviewed the drawings and any impact potentially to property in terms of necessary right-of-way, if any is needed, or easement, if anything is needed. Then obviously I would want to make sure that I continuously present any updates to the Board of Trustees, keeping you informed. From that period, then, as long as everyone wanted to continue, we would then look at preparing actual construction drawings, the specifications, all of the detailed cost estimate then at that point. I, again, would want to meet with the property owners after the final construction drawings are done, so that, again, they can see as finalized assumptions are done, that they would then be able to see what impact to their property or whatever necessary easements potentially would need to be recorded. Approve and advertise for bids as an update to the trustees. We'll give you an update and then also request that we advertise for those bids. We advertise for those bids. The board awards the bids. We file and record any easements or necessary right-of-way. Again, meet finally with the property owners before construction actually commences, just so they're aware of the construction schedule and any potential impact to their frontage properties. And then obviously, of course, commence the construction. So those steps, I've kind of extended them in terms of my explanation, ranging, again, from best guess about 9 months to 12 months. I'm assuming that it would be the 9 months. It potentially could truncate from the 9 months, depending on the county engineer's office schedule and their preparation of the preliminary engineering and then the construction drawings. But this is my best guess as of what information I know today on what potentially the time period or frame would be.
Well, I have a statement and then a question to what you said, and my position still hasn't changed. I think this is not a core competency. Westchester, according to Cincinnati Enquirer, we already have more bike paths than any other community our size and many communities larger than us. No other community, according to the Enquirer, in the smallest spaces Westchester has more bike paths. This is not a core competency. It will only serve a small number of our constituents. We need to preserve our dollars, our funding budgets, our funding sources are going away. They're being dwindled. And when you are losing money, it's not the time to spend money on something that is not a core competency. Our police levy is going to be upside down by 2015, we're estimating. Money for police officers and for safety is much more important than money for bike paths. Having made that statement, Ms. Boyko, I have a question for you. Wouldn't it make sense, since Mr. Stoker is on the record as saying she would only consider moving forward if we did not have an objection from the current property owners, to check with the property owners before we invested any time, effort, energy, or money?
Yes, sir.
Just to see, and I understand we don't have the plans, just to talk to them about the concept.
Yes, exactly. And we did do that as part of the application process to OKI. And at that time, the property owners that we were able to notify, which was the majority of them, I think we were not able to locate somebody at McDonald's, an owner at McDonald's. That was the only location that everyone, as information was presented to them today, back then, it was their understanding and their interest to pursue that grant.
Okay.
So I believe that there is interest along the fronting properties. We have not spoken to them probably since the application process has been concluded and we did not apply. So we have not timely talked to them probably within the last 30, 45 days. So we certainly can do that prior to any direction or action from the board, whatever the pleasure.
Well, what I would like to do is make this a discussion item for our next meeting, so Ms. Boyko can summarize everything she just said, give it to us, so we have some time to look at it and discern it before we actually decide to move forward.
So we got it again, you want to get it again?
Huh? Well, she just told me verbally. This is the first time I heard this level of detail. I haven't seen it. I haven't had time to consider, and I would like that. I would like that opportunity. Yeah.
I have no problem with that. I do have a couple responses of some of the things you said. You mentioned our police department being upside down, and we need funds for that. The funds that I believe are being considered for this bike path by law cannot be used for police operations. We're considering the 747 TIF funds per our last discussion, at least.
That's not accurate. We use TIF funds to build the entire police department.
That's a capital
Okay,
construction.
so we can use police funds to buy equipment for the police department so that money can then go to pay for law enforcement personnel. You can twist things around, but the bottom line is TIF funds are allowable to benefit the police department. And keep in mind, just because we have TIF money, if we don't spend that TIF money, Kathy, it comes back to the general fund. Once it comes into the general fund, we as the trustees can determine the best interest of that TIF money.
George, that won't be coming. When does the 747 TIF expire? That's got to have another, what, 10 or 15 years on it. So
2028 is my recollection.
So that really, I don't think, is in the realm of possibility at this time. The fact is, one of the reasons we have healthy reserves in our general fund is to take care of emergencies. This proposed bike path funding through the 747 TIF in no way in the world jeopardizes our police funding by any stretch of the imagination. Number one. Number two,
That's not an accurate statement.
Excuse me.
That's not an accurate statement.
Forgive me for talking while you're interrupting.
It's okay.
If,
I'm used to it.
What we are talking about is, I believe, an important connection between that will bring together literally miles of bike paths. As you mentioned, we have quite a few miles which were built by the individual subdivisions. One of the reasons they were built by the individual subdivisions is, even though since the late 1980s we have had a requirement that new subdivisions must have sidewalks within them, we also allowed, with our residential planned unit developments, for the developers to substitute bike paths for sidewalks, which is one of the reasons we have those. Another reason we have the sidewalks and bike paths that we do is because we are a relatively young community compared to, say, Hyde Park or Cincinnati or Blue Ash even. And I think that our zoning codes have enabled us to have more. But they don't really help our community much if they aren't connected. And that's one thing that we can do. We can offer that connection so that the privately built bike paths can be connected, so that families can bike not just around their own subdivision, but also bike to parks. They can bike to the businesses along 747. They could even bike as far away as the library and do it safely. I think this is one of the amenities that it is important to have to attract the kind of families that, like I say, are important businesses like Westchester Hospital, the personnel who work there, who work at AK Steel. When AK Steel called me up to inform me they were moving their headquarters from Middletown to here, they didn't talk about how great our roads were. What they talked about was they really liked the amenities close by. They liked the restaurants. They liked the park. They liked the library. Well, parks and libraries aren't core competencies, but you know what? They attracted a really important S&P 500 business right down to the middle of Union Center. When you speak of core competencies also, I'm a bit amazed because I imagine if you looked at the ORC, it's been quite a few years since I've actually looked at the responsibilities of Westchester Township trustees or trustees in general. I doubt if it says anything about the trustees are required to make improvements to the interstate highway system. But we did. We built an interchange at the Union Center Boulevard. Why did we do it? We didn't do it because it was a core competency. We did it because we thought it'd be really good for this township and attract a lot of good quality businesses to help subsidize our tax base. Now, that wasn't a core competency, but it was important to approve this community to attract the kind of businesses that we and our developer partners believed was possible to have here. And I supported that. I believe putting in a little bit of township money to help connect all the bike paths which have been built by private interests to help make our community more attractive to the kind of personnel that Amlin's another company. When I sat down with the CFO and talked about why was it you came to Westchester, they didn't say it's because we had great streets. What they were worried about is, are we going to have enough graduate chemistry majors to work here? Well, these people with advanced degrees and good families and good salaries expect a nice community with amenities. I'm not saying we spend every dollar on bike paths, but I'm saying a little bit of money spent here and there improves the amenities, improves the value, excuse me, improves our stock in the eyes of the kind of labor market that we need to have here to help our important businesses do what they do best.
Thank you, Ms. Stoker. It's not accurate when you say that all of the bike paths were built by individual neighborhoods.
I didn't
not
say
accurate.
all.
Yes,
I
you
didn't
did.
say all.
Yes, you
I
did.
said
If you
the majority.
check the tape
Then I
next week,
misspoke
you'll see
myself.
it.
I meant the majority
Yeah,
of them.
I don't even know if it's a majority, but many have. Many, numerous. My neighborhood, we all chipped in to build our own path. I understand how that works. And that's the way it should be done. Let the private sector, let the people that are going to use it, let those that are going to utilize it and take advantage of it, do it. I agree with you on that. We need more of that, not less of it, not less of it. I talked to all those CEOs too, and very many other people in the business community. And the amenities in Westchester are very nice. But as an individual who has with his own money built some of the amenities in Westchester with private dollars, not public dollars, I can tell you none of those amenities would be here if we weren't taking care of the basics. If our roads had potholes, if this was an unsafe community, if we didn't have excellent EMS and fire personnel, if we don't keep our eyes on the basics, everything else goes away. Listen, we can go on all day. I can count to 2. I know you guys are in a hurry to spend this money, and I'm okay with waiting until the next meeting to move on.
I agree.
Didn't we build the baseball complex with TIF money?
Yes.
Were you on the board at the time?
No, I was not, and I think
were
that's
not
going to
on
end
the
up being a huge mistake for us.
That was a mistake.
But
No, I was not on the board at that time.
You supported it wholeheartedly, and it brings in every year
No, I did not
millions
get
of
that. That was
dollars.
built before I was a trustee.
It has brought in millions of dollars of benefit to this township, particularly in stays at our local restaurants.
Yeah, and it's been
and
a
our
significant,
hotels.
it's been a cash burden to the township. It's not performed as projected 1 year, and it's been a burden to the township.
I also agree wholeheartedly that, and I would never say we should build a bike path instead of patching potholes. I would never say we should build a bike path instead of providing adequate support to our police department. Never
10 years,
would I
that may
say
be the choices we
never
make.
would I say such a thing. What I am saying is it is appropriate for us to spend an appropriate amount of funds to ensure that we keep the amenities which attract the kind of families that we need to have to supply the employee base for all the many companies we have. Like AK Steel, like Westchester Hospital, like Amlin, like AK Steel, GE, what all. They need, and these people want a environment where their families are going to be happy and prosper. That's our township motto, where businesses grow and families prosper.
Every example you gave is an example of a company that came here without that bike path. They came here without it. They're still coming. This isn't going to lead to more economic development. And the mistake governments make, and I can give you empirical data to back this statement up, when things are going well, when they're rocking and rolling, when their coffers are filled, rather than keeping their eye on their core competencies, they go and spend money on things that are nice to have. None of it's a waste of money. I'm not saying the bike pass would be a waste of money. It's a very nice thing to have. But then 10, 15, 20 years down the line, they don't see the unintended consequences of the money that they spend when things are going well. And then all of a sudden, when the funding sources dry up, and there's many communities around us, there's states in America that this has happened to, they've got no money. Not only not to support the new things, but not even to support the core competencies. And roads suffer, police suffer, fire suffer. And I'm just trying to avoid that for Westchester in the long run. Hey, there's no sense debating that. I can count to 2. I think we've asked Judy to make it a topic for our next meeting.
Nothing you've said that I have disagreed with at all, Mr. Lang. But I think you're talking about communities all around us that have been very foolish when things are going well. Westchester, on the other hand, conserve their resources when things are doing well. I'm just talking about a modest expenditure to ensure that we continue to grow a community that will again be mentioned in Forbes and Money Magazine as one of the best communities in the country in which to live and to have a business.
If you talk to any elected official in those communities when they were spending the money on the new nice things, they would have said exactly what you said.
Okay.
You know, Westchester is just relatively new to being very successful in the last 20 years. Before that, we were a very small community. But
Well, Judy
has the direction from the board.
May I, just point of order, Mr. President? Just want to manage the expectation of what information the board would like to have in advance prior to the next meeting. And
I would like to see the conceptual plan that you verbally described.
The timeline, okay. And then I can get that to all of you. And then what expectation do you have when you said listed as a discussion item for the boards, or you have some expectation that I will present something? What is the expectation of what will be presented as a discussion item?
You could present what you did again after I had some time
Okay.
to study it, but
Just have it for
yeah, I
you
just
all?
want a chance to look at it.
Okay. So really, there's nothing you need to prepare? You need anything?
No, something very informal at best,
Okay.
for my opinion. Lee and Kathy may have a different
Yeah,
opinion.
I would like at that time then for us to consider a vote when we're all here to discuss it on whether or not we're moving forward with this project.
I thought we already had a majority on that to move forward.
Yeah, we did, but we didn't actually vote.
Okay.
We decided to wait until Mr. Lang
I
was
see.
here so he
I
could
got it.
offer his opinions. I don't think it's appropriate to vote on something where we know another trustee has a differing opinion until that trustee is there to make
I appreciate
comments.
that.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll provide that, the schedule.
Mr. Lane, I had to leave early in the last meeting. You mentioned, I heard the tape that you had an article that you were flipping to show people that
Yes.
we have the most bike path in the entire region.
That's correct.
Could you provide? I could not find it in the.
Go to Cincinnati
archives.
Enquirer, search it. It's their May 8th, 2011 edition, and click on the map there and print it.
I did check, but
Here's a copy of the map.
I saw the map, but I
For
did
your
not.
benefit, I highlighted the
I
part
did
that's
not see the
Westchester.
article.
It's easy to see.
The article that you said that was
Yeah,
mentioned.
there was an article with it. May 8th, 2011, Cincinnati Enquirer. It's the map that I'm referring to.
Right. All I saw was a map. There was no article.
No, Lee, there was an article, and the map was part of the article. The article was written on May 8th, 2011.
Is it possible to print a copy?
Yes, print a copy, go to the Enquirer. I'm not going to do your research if you're asking me to do it for you. You can go to the Enquirer yourself and get it.
Well,
I'll take my
I
map
didn't
back.
find it. Yeah.
That's fine.
Could I make a copy of that?
Huh?
Could
Sure.
I make a copy of
Can you get a copy of this for me?
Mr. Kim.
All right. Anything
Or
else?
you can go to the Enquirer and print your own.
Could I have one more comment? With respect, excuse me,